Good afternoon, everyone. The Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanye.
Present.
Alderman Aldrich.
Present.
Chair Narayan.
Here.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Keys. We have 5 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to suspend with the normal business and move to excused members. At this point, I'll move to excuse Alderman Oldenburg for necessary absence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Velasquez.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanye. Alderman Aldrich.
No.
Chair Narayan.
Aye.
Can't change my vote to a no.
We have 3 aye votes and 2 noes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I will accept a motion to approve the minutes from Thursday, October 26th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderman Aldrich. Chair Narayan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys. We have 5 aye votes.
Thank you. And with that, we are going to take up Board Bill number 107. Alderman Aldridge, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, for allowing me to present Board Bill 107 in front of you today. Madam Clerk, could you read the summary of 107?
Board Bill number 107, introduced by Alderman Rasheen Aldrich, co-sponsored President Megan Green, an ordinance to prohibit the open carrying of firearms in the city of St. Louis. Exceptions are made for law enforcement officers and including an effective date clause dependent upon restored authority of the city to regulate firearms.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So this piece of legislation is a slew of legislation I know that myself and other colleagues have, as we've been calling it, like trigger legislation. So what this trigger legislation ultimately would do would ban open carry in the city of St. Louis unless you are a law enforcement or use firearms for your job if you're on duty or off-duty security guard. And the goal is to ideally in 2024, there may be some information or ballot initiatives that go on the ballot. So similar to what happened with Roe versus Wade, a lot of states had filed legislation, unfortunately, to get rid of Roe versus Wade if the Supreme Court ruled that was the case, so that they would already have trigger legislation on the books. And this is exactly what we're trying to do. This committee has already took steps to, as far as where we can go, to kind of ban people walking down at the open carry, at least if they have their concealed carry permit. But we're taking it a step further and trying to ban open carry completely. In the city of St. Louis, we know that a lot of these firearms, no matter if you're downtown, if you're north side, you south side, we see a lot of people walking down with firearms that not just make people fearful, but can also be used to deadly kill someone. So what we're trying to do is put precautions in place and protect citizens of the city of St. Louis with not allowing open carry at all. And there is a fee, as we all know, if someone is open carrying over the age of 18, there is a $500 fee. If they are under 18, they will get like charged with community service. But it is a step that we're trying to take to ensure that we can control public safety here in the city of St. Louis, and telling Jeff City that they can't continue to tell us about how we should run our city, especially when we live here. We deal with the violence on a regular basis. I've talked with our legal counsel, Ms. Hamilton, to make sure this was doable. She said it is, because it would not go into effect unless a resolution was passed at this board to allow these trigger legislations to go into effect. And with that, I would close and open it up for any questions.
Thank you, Alderman. Just a couple of questions on some nuts and bolts here. I didn't realize that this legislation affected minors. Did you have a discussion with the city councilor regarding the same as we had on some other issues, where really the city's ability to have jurisdiction over minors is really curtailed by the state? We really only have jurisdiction on very few issues. Did she believe that this was something that we had jurisdiction on?
When I talked to her, we didn't go over the juvenile aspect of it, but I think it's similar to what, like you say, Jeff City already making it. A lot of things when it comes to juveniles are on the Jeff City level. I think we probably would need to have probably more trigger language in the near future to address how our law enforcement can handle our juveniles. But I would assume, and probably shouldn't assume, but I would assume it'd be similar to Board Bill 29, where there would be, if minors involved, more like community service. That's what we tried to replicate in this piece of legislation.
Okay, yeah. My only concern with all of these when it comes to juveniles is, I hate to say, the punishment's going to be one thing, but we actually don't have jurisdiction. The punishment ends up being something completely different. Then is there any carve out in this for private property?
There is not.
Okay, that's probably another thing that we'd want to address in it, just to be clear that, you know, someone can basically always have a firearm on their own property. I certainly want to make sure that we address people walking around city streets. And I think that's the spirit of what you're trying to address as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. This is to ensure that our law enforcement that are out there on a day-to-day basis trying to tackle some of these issues that they can't because Jeff City has tied our hands. I'm definitely willing on the floor to put an amendment that put in private property. I wouldn't believe that our law enforcement would say that somebody's on their private property and they're open to carry where they shouldn't. But we shouldn't also just believe we should always put in legislation, and definitely willing to put that in there. But it's more to make sure that our officers have tools in their toolkit to actually try to get as many weapons off the street, especially when people are walking down the street with these firearms.
Sure. Yeah, those are really my only two hesitations on this. I think it's an important piece of legislation, just given all the craziness that we've seen. But I on both of those issues, I feel like we may run into legal issues on the back end that we can avoid if we get it right on the front end. And I'd be happy to work with you on both of those. With that, I'll move on down the list. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, do you have any questions? Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Saunier.
I just want to publicly just really acknowledge your suit. It's quite fresh. I see you dressed up today for your podium seat, so I wanted to just acknowledge that. I know you're walking away, but I hope everybody at home see the stripe detail. I don't really have any questions except from what Alderman Narayan is saying about the carve out for juveniles. Are you saying that you prefer to do that on the floor? Like you'd like to just pass that through committee today and then do those changes in a floor substitute?
Yes, if the committee would be willing to do that, I definitely agree. I think we need that carve out, and I think it's something that is it's not a huge change to the bill that we could easily do that on the floor, and also we'll reach out to the city councilor on the juvenile aspect and say if she does not get back, because if we pass it, it wouldn't be on the floor this Friday or go to the following Friday. If she doesn't get back on that juvenile, I'll be willing to put it on that formal till we get the right information.
Okay, and then in reference to Alderman Orion's second point, I know he mentioned state property. I did see a carve out, and I'm trying to find the line now because I remember having a similar question when I saw it on the agenda, but I think you do have a carve out on public and not private property. So I think that might account for what Alderman Orion is saying.
It is in section 1 on the unlawful open carry of a weapon, but I do want to probably just make sure that I think we probably can be a little bit more clear on that language to make sure that we're addressing the issue on streets but not private property.
Okay, that completes my questions. Thank you.
All right, any further questions from anyone? All right, hearing none. At this point, if there is a motion on the floor, I'll listen to it.
I make a motion that we pass Board Bill 107 with a due pass recommendation out of committee.
And is there a second? All right, hearing a motion and a second that we pass this out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sonier.
Aye.
Alderman Aldrich.
Aye.
Chair Narayan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys. We have 5 aye votes.
Well, with that, we have passed Board Bill 107 out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Congratulations, Alderman, and I look forward with working with you on those amendments. At this time, we will take up Board Bill 93. Please proceed, Alderman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I will keep it brief. I do know we have a speaker here. This is the third time kind of covered this piece of legislation. I'm just going to talk about some key top highlighting points that I've talked about before, but maybe members of the public or members watching wasn't able to see the last meeting. So what we're doing in Board Bill 93 Committee Substitute is already taken a great piece of legislation that was passed by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Thank her for her leadership on this and also appreciate her willingness to work with me on this to just kind of do a little bit of cleanup to ensure that some of the things that are in the legislation that was passed last session, that there's not any gray areas. I've worked with Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. I appreciate Alderwoman Sonier for coming to the table. Appreciate Nicole Barton from the mayor's office, who has been very instrumental in the DFOB COB process, as well as other people in the mayor's office. Also want to thank members of CABCAR, members of the public, members of the DFOB board that have brought a lot of information on the legislation as we dived into it. I never wanted to rush getting this done. I do think there was some small changes that we could be able to make to just make the legislation even more stronger than how strong it already was. And some of those changes that we made in the committee substitute. So we originally started by repealing Alderman Vaccaro's bill 71430 that was passed that set up DFOB under Alderwoman Clark Hubbard's bill. A lot of that stuff was covered as she also set up COB in the detention facility division or civilian oversight division just to make sure it's clear when people go and look at this ordinance when it comes to DFOB and COB. We wanted to repeal one and make sure that language of standing up the DFOB was in Alderwoman Clark Hubbard's piece of legislation. We also did a lot of clarifying on civilian oversight investigators and what their role is as far as their role as investigators, as well as the role of DFOB members. We cleared up some language around training to clarify how many hours is actually necessary for DFOB members to be able to get training, to be able to do their duty, and understanding that there will be ongoing training. We also added, like I say, the additional scope of what DFOB members' roles are. We added some strengthening, or we strengthened some language around the special counsel. Note special counsel was in both pieces of legislation, but we put some verbiage in there that allows the DFOB members to actually seek outside counsel, understand that maybe it could be a conflict coming from the city councilor. And I know there will be several amendments brought forward from my colleagues today. Like I say, during this process, a lot of people have kind of put second eyes on this to make sure it was right. Also, I want to thank Janika Hayden from the President Office for being willing to work with me on this, plenty of meetings to make sure we get this actually right. And I'm outside of the amendments that we would take up today, I do plan to also bring a floor substitute because one thing that one of the members brought up, Mr. Milton, who serves on the DOB, we did make a small error when it came to access. We tried to make sure that members was able to go in with investigators, but we did take out some language from the previous bill that allows them to get access to the jail if they make accommodations with the mayor's office or with the jail commissioner, as well as need to do some grammar issues that CABCAR really appreciate them and their partnership, because they have been at the table with this legislation from the very start to make sure we clarify those grammar errors that are in the pieces of legislation as we did some kind of copy and pasting over. So I will hope to get this voted out today, understanding that I will bring a floor substitute, which I will deliver an email to all my colleagues way in advance of the meeting so that we can have discussions on any of those potential changes or questions that members may have. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I think we have a speaker, so I don't know if you want to do the speaker first or the amendment.
Let's take up the amendments first, just to make sure that any speakers have a chance to address the bill as amended. That way we don't have to worry about having additional speakers.
You're the chair.
If anyone has any issues with any of these. With that, I'll recognize you on Amendment 1.
I believe it will be actually the Alderwoman from
Excuse me. Yep. Sorry, it just says by Sponsorman Shane Aldridge up here at the top. I apologize. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, please proceed.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and of course to the sponsor, Alderman Aldridge, Vice Chair Aldridge. This is, again, in talking about the cleanup that we've been doing with the additional eyes. I would like to ask that we can put amendment number 1 to board bill number 3 before us.
So moved.
Second.
All right, hearing a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Okay.
Opposed? All right. Please proceed.
I couldn't remember if we needed to do that or not, but so I did bring a speaker with me for this because it was a speaker that brought it to my attention, and it was brought to our attention in the last committee. And I think everybody that's worked on this legislation in this body of work for 20 plus years acknowledging the elders in the room and the people that have been doing this work. This piece was in it and definitely in the original spirit, and we want to make sure we have this opportunity, take advantage of this opportunity. But in case anybody didn't know about the mediation piece in this work, I wanted to bring up Wolf Smith to speak on the history of mediation in this work and then how we can make sure we put it back in.
All right, please proceed.
Awesome.
But you know what? No, I'll just swear you in, just to be sure. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is true to the best of your ability?
I do.
All right, please proceed.
Well, thank you, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Thank you, committee. I've introduced myself before. My name is Wolf Smith, for those online. I'm the executive director of the Conflict Resolution Center. My pronouns are they, them. And we have been doing mediations in the context of police-civilian disputes since 2017. Through those mediations, we've been able to help folks resolve conflict peacefully. So whenever a member of the public has a complaint or grievance against an officer and they submit that complaint to the Civilian Oversight Board, we work with them and we work with the Internal Affairs Division of the police department in order to help them find a resolution. We do that using community volunteers who are specifically trained in mediation, and as well as the unique power dynamics that come into play when mediating these types of disputes. So they've been a productive and effective tool at resolving complaints in the past. And I'm really excited that Alderwoman Clark Hubbard was willing to add this back in, and I'm happy to answer any questions folks might have.
Thank you. No, I think that this is a welcome addition. I worked with Alderwoman Clark Hubbard on the previous iteration of this, and I think this was an important part of it. I'll just go down the list. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, I take it you don't have any questions. Alderwoman Velasquez.
No questions. I just want to thank you for putting this in here because I think it is important and a good use of all of our resources, people resources in the city as well.
All right. Alderwoman Saunier.
No questions. I've been a part of meetings. I know exactly where Alderwoman Clark Hubbard is coming from. I agree with her. This is important. It's essential. It should stay in the bill. No questions.
Alderman Aldridge.
No questions, just a comment. I appreciate you for bringing this up at one of the one of the hearings and working with Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, who is essential to this piece of legislation, catching that error. And I really appreciate Alderwoman Clark Hubbard's willingness to ensure and help me out to make sure that we're not missing key pieces. I do think this is critical to the piece of legislation. So thank you both.
All right, and I don't have any questions. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt Amendment Number 1 to Board Bill Number 93. All right, everyone in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, well, we have adopted Amendment Number 1. Now we will move on to Amendment Number 2. Alderwoman Saunier, please proceed.
Oh. All right, thank you, Chair Narayan and members of the committee. I have a few amendments before us today, all of which have been discussed in the meetings that we've been having just to get up to this point, and just to kind of address some of the things that I think we were hoping to add to the legislation to allow it to progress with this, with as least tension and conflict as possible. So my first amendment is about just adding in language that will allow for complaints, for anonymous complaints. There was some conversation in the bills, some conversation about if anonymous complaints could be allowed, and a reference of anonymous complaints not being allowed to be filed in reference to police officers. Because the DFOB board and these complaints are for correctional officers have a different classification than police officers. They are able to receive anonymous complaints. So this number two, the committee SIB number 2 that I'm adding adds in anonymous complaints. Or actually, I might have
that
skipped
is
one.
not
Sorry.
the
Okay, sorry.
amendment number 2 that's in front of us, at least.
Right, okay. Your number 2 is for a separate amendment that just takes the age from 16 to 18.
Yes.
So there's some language in the bill right now that suggests that you could be added at the age of 16, but that's not feasible or doable. So we just want to increase it to 18 so that, it's legislation that could be implemented.
All right. I'll accept a motion to put amendment number 2 in front of us. All in favor signify by saying aye. All right. Anything else that you'd like to add? It's pretty straightforward.
That's pretty common sense. You can't be 16 and serve on this board, so we're just making it to be the age of 18.
Does anyone have any questions on? All right, hearing none, I'll accept a motion to adopt amendment number 2 to board bill number 93, committee substitute, as amended. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, we have adopted amendment number 2. We'll move to amendment number 3 now. That's again Alderwoman Sundays, so please proceed.
Yes. I prematurely explained this a little bit earlier. Maybe it makes sense to have the clerk just read this.
Sure. Well, let's put amendment number 3 in front of us.
Okay, I make a motion that we put amendment number 3 for Board Bill 93 in front of the committee.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, so we now have amendment number 3 to Board Bill 93 committee sub as amended in front of us. Please proceed.
Okay, yes. So this, I'm happy to read it, or we can have the clerk read it. But again, this is just adding the anonymous complaints piece. This was a conversation I know that has come up many times on just whether or not we could do this, because there's some state legislation that prohibits certain complaints for police officers. But again, because correctional officers have a different classification than that of police officers, it doesn't apply here.
All right, and was this language vetted by the city councilor's office or anyone else to ensure that we were
Yes.
in compliance with everything?
Yes, with both the city councilor's office and the Ms. Burden. I forget the name of her position exactly, but she's serving as the interim for the mayor's office.
Okay. All right. So, are there any questions from the committee? Looks like Alderman Aldridge has a question.
Yes, more just a discussion. I know this was in the legislation originally, and there was some concerns from the mayor's office with the police bill of rights that was passed in Jeff City, that anonymous complaints can be done, understanding that they would try to figure out how they can do it in procedure. But after talking with city councilor Ms. Hamilton, she said they are not classified under as law enforcement, so they wouldn't fall under the police bill of rights. That would put this bill in jeopardy.
All right. Anyone else on the committee have any questions on amendment number 3? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adopt amendment number 3 to board bill number 93 committee sub as amended. All right. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right. We have adopted amendment number 3 to board bill number 93 committee sub as amended. So we will move to amendment number 4. Alderwoman Saunier, would you like to put amendment number 4 to Board Bill 93 Committee Sub as amended in front of us?
Yes, so moved. I would make a motion that we put amendment number 4 to Board Bill 93 as amended in front of the.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, please proceed.
Okay, so this one came up in a meeting that we had together. We were just talking about the time frame and the timeline of the training, and it was actually Alderwoman Keys who kind of was like, well, this 6 months is kind of long, especially given that their terms are only 1 year. And so does it make sense to instead go to 4 months? The language in the bill actually kind of speaks more. There's some other language in the bill that speaks more to the hours of training. But this is a separate thing where it's identifying a time frame. And so this is proposing that we strike out 6 and instead change that timeline to 4 months.
All right, are there any questions from the committee on proposed amendment number 4? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt amendment number 4 to Board Bill number 93 Committee Sub as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, we have adopted amendment number 4 to Board Bill number 93 Committee Sub as amended. That will take us to amendment number 5, again by Alderwoman Saunier. I'll entertain a motion to put amendment number 5 to Board Bill number 93 Committee Sub as amended in front of us.
I make a motion that we put amendment number 5 in for Board Bill number 3, committee substitute as amended in front of the committee.
All right, I'm going to hear that as 93.
Sorry.
And so we have, and there was a second on it? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, please proceed on amendment number 5 to Board Bill number 93, Committee Sub as amended.
All right, so again, this one is really zoning in on the time frame for anonymous complaints. The previous one was to allow, the previous amendment I made was to allow for them. This one adds language to just adjust the time frame that those anonymous complaints should be submitted in and be reviewed in. And so that's what this is, just adding in some language along the lines to kind of make that clearer now that they're amended into the bill.
All right, and again, my only question would be, this gone through the city councilor's office or anyone else for vetting?
Yeah, the Alderman Aldridge.
Yeah, this one sounds newer, so I would have to look at it. So if you would be willing to remove your motion on bringing this one forward, I think we could look at this one.
Okay, that's fine. Remove the motion.
All right, so who made the second? You made the second? All right, so you need to rescind your second, then she needs to rescind her motion.
I removed my second to amendment number 5 to Board Bill 93 Committee Substitute as amended.
All right, and you?
I rescind my motion.
All right, then we no longer have amendment number 5 to Board Bill number 93 Committee Sub as amended in front of us. We will now move to amendment for clarity's sake, since we all have it in front of us on paper, I'm going to refer to this as amendment number 6, even though it will be the 5th amendment, because that's what we have here. So I'll entertain a motion to put amendment number 6 to Board Bill number 93 Committee Sub as amended in front of us. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we now have amendment number 6 to Board Bill number 93, Committee Sub, as amended in front of us. Alderwoman, please proceed.
I need to go to the restroom.
Oh, we will be in recess for 5 minutes. All right, we are back in session with the Public Safety Committee. Alderwoman Saunier, please proceed on amendment number 6 to Board Bill number 93, Committee Sub, as amended.
Thank you. Did we already bring this in front of the committee?
It is in front of the committee right now.
Excellent. So this is just, again, same thing, changing 6 months to 4 months, but it's just listed at 2 places in the bill. So we're just keeping the language consistent, and it's just listed twice. So we need to change it in 2 different places. So this is that second line item.
All right. Sounds straightforward to me. Are there any questions from anyone else on the committee about amendment number 6? All right. Hearing no questions at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adopt amendment number 6 to Board Bill number 93, Committee Sub, as. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we have adopted amendment number 6 to Board Bill number 93, Committee Substitute, as amended.
Clarification, just clearly.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that seconded by Clerk Hubbard?
Yes. Oh, no, excuse me. Velasquez.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and I believe that that's the last of the amendments that I have in front of me, at least. Alderman Aldridge, if you would like to proceed. Actually, Madam Clerk, we do have speakers here, correct?
We do. We have 2 speakers, and the first speaker that we have that is in support is Janie. I can't make it out. Archie?
Janie Archie, if you would please come forward. And Ms. Archie, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be true to the best of your ability?
Yes.
All right, and if you want folks to hear you, you got to speak into the microphone.
Okay, I really wasn't planning on speaking, but I got this letter from Representative Cori Bush after she again went to the city jail in September. And this was sent to Commissioner Jennifer Clemens Abdullah and Megan Green and Mayor Tashara Jones. And the reason it's relevant is that there's all these different areas in here, which I'll just list, and then maybe I can get a copy. I think I got it in the mail, so I don't have another copy. But it's important, I think, because at the very end of the letter, she wants a response by tomorrow. So it's a very timely letter in terms of the different issues happening at the jail that this oversight and, complaints may address as well. So I just wanted to make sure that the committee knew about the letter or had seen it or maybe has a copy of it. So she went
if I can interject real quick, have you given a copy to the clerk?
I didn't have a this is my only copy in the
Okay, we can make a copy and make sure it's included in the minutes here.
All right, so she said she went to the facility on September 8th, 2023 with President Green and her staff, shouldn't say who else. And then she lists these categories of things that are of utmost concern. Of course, she was deeply troubled by the continuing issues regarding conditions of the facility and treatment of detainees staff, and amplified in light of the most recent death at CGA, the detainee over the weekend, making the 3rd death within 10 weeks and the 10th overall in the last 10 years. So these issues that she's outlining, you can read later and maybe put in with the bill, but it's concerning delivery of timely and adequate medical care, which I know a lot of people have talked about, Horizon, if that's how you say it, and concerns regarding equal access to basic needs and services, concerns regarding the use of solitary confinement as punishment, concerns regarding the use of force, concerns regarding the physical safety of staff and people in custody. And then, of course, it says, this is a matter of urgent priority, and I strongly request that you initiate a shift in the culture, policies, and practices of the CJC to ensure the rights of staff and detainees alike are upheld. I also request that you promptly provide my office with a response and information requested in this letter no later than November 3rd, 2023. Corey Bush, Member of Congress. So it just seems like a lot of the issues you've been talking about that could be before the board, she's really wanting to know what's going to happen with that, and I just thought it was a really timely letter to include.
And thank you for that.
Oh, I forgot to say, I live in the city and I'm in Ward 6.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, and our second speaker, Madam Clerk.
We have Wolf Smith, Ward 10. He is undecided.
And you already spoke? Okay, great. So they have spoken already on this. So at this point, Alderman Aldridge, please proceed. So we will need to adopt Board Bill number 93 committee sub as amended at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Board Bill 93 committee sub as amended.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so we have adopted Board Bill number 93 committee sub as amended at this point, and Alderman Aldridge, please proceed.
Thank you. At this point, I would be open to any questions from the committee if they have questions on Board Bill 93 committee sub as amended.
So I have a couple of questions, but I think that other folks may as well, so I will hold mine for now and go down the list. Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard.
I don't have any additional questions right now.
All right. Alderwoman Velasquez.
I don't have any questions right now either.
Alderwoman Saunier.
No questions.
All right, I'm the only one with questions. Alderman, we have this document that I guess we all received here from the mayor's office on some of the meetings that you, I, and some others have had. Do you have it in front of you up there? Okay. And just if you could discuss some of the ongoing conversations.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. So the mayor's office emailed the committee over today at 1:20 some changes that we have talked about with them as far as changing the 16 to 18, the member training from maximum to minimum. We have talked about, which we haven't made that change. I need to talk with Nicole. There is something new that they put in there for as a law enforcement criteria, trying to update the language for law enforcement only for the city of St. Louis. The mayor's office is looking to hire a new commissioner who they believe from outstate could be very successful in this role, but they have law enforcement background, and the way the ordinance is written, it says you can't be in law enforcement. One of the recommendations they said is maybe only they can't be in law enforcement if they were a city law enforcement person, that they couldn't serve on that. So in the conflicting language, also I think something new that I seen today, and I knew that they said they was going to send a summary around it. Why some of these proposals wasn't brought forward today is because it was just sent over today. It wouldn't been enough time to put these in a committee sub. My understanding is that if they were sent over earlier Monday or Tuesday, that we probably could have made some of these changes. There's been ongoing conversation with them. I may need to follow back up with them probably on the minimum and maximum just to ensure we're doing the right thing. But these are, I would say, part of ongoing conversations that I've been having with the mayor's office, Nicole, and also Casey Millbrook, to ensure, again, that we're not missing anything. And like I say, I plan to bring a floor substitute to the floor that may include some of these changes, but it wasn't enough time to include them in the committee sub to try to get as much in, so there's less on the floor substitute because it was sent over literally today at, I think, 1:20. Note these conversations had happened probably Tuesday. Still would have probably been enough time per our rules. We have to get it to the clerk 36 or 38 hours in advance, and we wouldn't have had enough time to maybe address some of the changes at the mayor's office, more changes that they brought. Like I say, the 16 one we had plenty of conversation on, and we had took care of that already earlier on.
All right, just to touch base on some of that, my understanding on your desire to move forward on this today and to circle back around with either amendments or a floor substitute is as a result of several members of the DFOB completing their training. Is that correct?
Is that it's to come with a floor substitute, not just outside of them completing their training. Like I say, some things that was brought from the mayor's end, but also from community groups, especially Cab Car, that we need to ensure that, and not even just Cab Car, even DFOB members. Like I say, there was an error with the access of information and access to the jails that we need to just put back in there that was in the original language under Alderwoman Clark Hubbard's bill.
Okay, so the reason that you want to move forward today, though, as opposed to holding it in committee today, is to streamline the process in which someone may be able to get into these facilities.
To be able to get in, and then we also have several members who are on expired terms. And we will eventually, I know this board goes down, we only have like 13 probably or 12 more meetings. We go down in December, and I think by getting ahead of this curve, not just outside of potentially reappointing new members and making sure that they have legislation that cleared up some of these guidelines, but also to put the current members that are serving on this board in a place where they have clear language around their roles and responsibilities. One key thing that we're doing is defining the scope of the role of the DFOB members and the investigator, so it's no grayness over the next few weeks once this legislation is passed and gets signed. If they continue to do their work while we're on break, they have just a little bit more clear language, as well as new members that potentially may be coming onto the board as we go into January. We have an ordinance in front of them that is clear, but also put requirements in place, especially around training, legal counsel, that will be able to help them moving forward.
All right. With that, I'll once again ask any committee members if they have any questions before recognizing you to close. Any questions from any committee members? All right, Alderman, you're recognized to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Again, I want to thank a couple people for helping me and guiding me during this process. Again, I ultimately want to thank the phenomenal Alderwoman from the 10th Ward, Clark Hubbard, for working with me on this legislation and even acknowledging that I needed to have conversations with an individual that has been doing a lot of this work. I think sometimes we have the thought of either things that happen in the media that we need to address it, but she was very helpful to make sure I didn't miss any steps and encouraging words along the process. So I really do thank her on her leadership of getting it to this place. Like I say, she really did the heavy lifting. She had the tough conversations. Only thing I'm doing is just coming in and just wiping down the car that she already bought. So I really appreciate her leadership on that. I also want to thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know you've been in several of the meetings as well with myself or with the city councilor. and been a help as we've also had conversations with the mayor to make sure we get this right. I also want to thank Alderwoman Sonier from the 7th Ward for also being part of a lot of the conversations. I want to thank the Alderwoman from the 6th Ward for asking questions that I will make sure I still need to get to her, but asking questions and making sure that all the information that committee members need is actually provided to them. So I thank every member on the committee for indulging in this conversation, as it's been a 3-week conversation. Again, I want to thank Janika Hayden, who's been from the president's office, which we're not done yet. We got a weekend of more changes that we got to make, and I know it's she has her hands in a lot of things, but she was very helpful to get it to this place. Thank you to Cab Car, mainly Mama Jamala Rogers, our elder, as well as Mr. Chaz Knopf, who have brought some, again, things that we potentially may be missing. I want to thank the mayor's office and their staff for diligently working with me on this, as well as the city councilor with giving me input to make sure that we're not doing things outside of the scope where the city can't be able to do this. Again, I feel like I'm kind of being a broken record here. The goal really of this legislation is to, between the last several years, or the last year, I would say, there's been some back and forth with DFOB members and the former commissioner and the mayor's office on exactly what the ordinance in certain areas mean to them when it comes to either access, or mean to them when it comes to their role. It was, like I say, very spelled out under Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. I think what we're doing is just putting more verbiage in there that just makes it a little bit more clear, and trying to ensure that our DFOB members actually have oversight to do their job as they are volunteers. Just trying to go and make sure that the jail is being ran in a humane way, to be able to come back to this body to give input, and also to the mayor's office to give input on what changes need to be happen in the jail. While we know jail is not a luxury place, it also shouldn't be a inhumane place where people are not getting the proper health care. I know the mayor's office took time to fire the healthcare provider and looking at a new one, because apparently they wasn't a good one, but just getting proper healthcare, housing, or food, and allowing people to die in the jail. So I appreciate this committee for allowing me to take up y'all last 3 weeks around this legislation, and allow us to be thoughtful and careful in how we move forward on something that was already a great piece that was brought by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. And with that, I would close and ask for a do pass recommendation.
All right. Now that
On Board Bill 93 committee substitute as amended.
All right, now that the alderman from the 14th has sufficiently buttered up this committee, I will accept a motion on
Know me so well.
a motion to pass Board Bill number 107 committee sub, Board Bill number 93 committee sub as amended out of committee with a due pass
So
recommendation.
moved.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sonier.
Aye.
Alderman Aldred. Chair Narayan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys. We have 5 aye votes.
All right, with that, you've sustained the motion and passed Board Bill number 93 committee sub as amended out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Congratulations, Alderman. Do we have any resolutions for review?
We have none.
Any further committee discussions?
We have none.
All right, acknowledgement of any written testimony.
We have none.
All right, any announcements from anyone? All right, hearing none, I will make a motion to excuse Alderwoman Keys for necessary absence.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it, so Alderwoman Keys is excused. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All right, the ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you.